why fund managers can't beat the S&P 500? Because they're sheep. And sheep get slaughtered.
The numbers told the story, they always do.
Money never sleeps, pal.
Because all we care about is getting fucking rich. You connect points I don't even know to look for.
The most valuable commodity I know of is information.
Public's out there throwing darts at a board sport. I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things.
Welcome, Karma Clan, to the next edition of the Sports Trading Desk podcast. Week 14 is in the rearview mirror. So let's dive into our performance review, walk you through what our picks were, and then we'll look ahead to Week 15. I'm your co-host, Brett Matthew, along with my fellow sports bettor extraordinaire, Zach James, who was pounding the table on Sunday morning about how everyone should go out and bet the Chicago Bears versus the Texans. So if you listened, that was a pretty easy game to watch and an easy ticket to cash. So let's look at core. So core Sportfolio, again, we make 5 picks every single week to line up with our competitors participating in the Super Contest in order to have a nice, clean way to really evaluate performance on a fair and adjusted basis. So our top 5 picks this week were Cardinals -2.5, which won, Ravens -3, which won, and then that pretty much concluded the winners. So we go 2 and 3. Steelers, Raiders, Niners were our losers. The market in the Super Contest went 3 and 2. They had the Ravens, Saints, Steelers, Cardinals, Bills. So we underperformed the market by a game this week, but are still outperforming by 6 games on the course of the season. That's one of our main goals, is to be able to outperform the market on a meaningful scale. We've been able to do that. And then secondarily, to outperform our competitors, to demonstrate that, you know, by following us and listening to our podcast, participating with us over the course of the season, you know, you're going to be able to generate alpha. You're going to capture positive performance above and beyond what the market alternatives are out there. So that's how core went. And then, of course, we have our aggressive Sportfolio, which is kind of a levered version of our core Sportfolio. And it's also complemented with live bets and exotics through teasers and parlays, all that sort. Again, all published in the Bet Karma Premium channel. And aggressive has been doing phenomenal. So on Twitter, I posted this week a chart of our performance of core, aggressive versus our broader market competitors. Again, core is outperforming, aggressive is dramatically outperforming. And I think aggressive outperformed core again meaningfully this week, again, coming down to providing that value add through the tactical decisions that we make over the course of Sunday, over the course of as the games are playing out. Again, isolating value in live games, and also as the lines adjust, finding value through alt lines, through teasers, parlays, in order to take low risk, high reward. So how did aggressive perform this week, Zach?
Yeah, aggressive, I want to touch on a couple of things real quick. Is we were up 2.6 units on the week, but I hedged 5+ units on the Browns-Ravens game. Basically, when Lamar Jackson went out in the fourth quarter, I had already hedged the exposure of 2 units to win 7 units, and then hedged another 2.5 units on that game. So, you know, if I let that ride, we would be up 7-8 units on the week. But the game was so volatile and so close, and really either team could have won it if they just played the clock out before they scored.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel bad about that. So we're up almost 23 units on the season, which obviously is pretty darn strong for especially NFL capping. Yeah, so feeling pretty good, even though we left some money on the table, but better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, no, you definitely got to de-risk in a game like that Ravens-Browns game that was super wishy-washy. It really could have went either way. I mean, if Lamar Jackson doesn't come back, they definitely don't win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even though some of the teams
exactly, and that's what I and so I think definitely wise decision. Still was able to outperform core and adding that value add. Which is, again, kind of the core mandate of the aggressive sportfolio. Well, and real quick, that's something I want to touch on too is, I leveraged up, and it's easier to do as the season progresses typically, but I leveraged up some teaser and parlays into the Monday night game so that you get an extra leg of a game that was pretty close in a money line, knowing the line was going to move in the Ravens' favor. And so basically what happened is, a 3-game parlay that's very difficult to hit becomes a 2-game parlay. A 3-game teaser becomes a 2-game teaser. A 4-game becomes a 3, in essence. So I had basically about 2-ish units to win 7 units on the Ravens money line up to +3 on the Ravens with a teaser. So I had 7 units to play with to get the Browns +300, which I did, +200, which I did. Got them basically even money. Could have got them at +7.5. So I have all this flexibility to really hedge my exposure to make sure I don't lose any money, to consider trying to middle to get both, and that would have been a great game to potentially do that, or to just hedge my exposure or go the other way. Like Lamar Jackson got injured. I thought about putting it all back on the Browns just to kind of say, screw, let's ride with the Browns. But I decided to keep money option on both sides. So these kind of leg into a late game or Monday night game is a great way to get kind of like some plus EV in general. So highly recommend it if it's the right matchup and the right situation, especially in regards to the numbers. Definitely worth considering these last 3 weeks if you can find those right plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing is if you're listening and be like, wow, you're talking about all these bets and picks and hedges that you made. Well, how does that even help me? Well, the thing is, we're posting all of this in the Bet Karma Premium Discord channel. So as we make a bet or as we hedge, all of that, it's immediately posted in Discord Live. So that's how you digest this information. That's how you can participate right along with us. So before we move on to week 15, anything else that jumps out at you, Zach, that you want to cover in week 14? We're high on the Cardinals. That was like a nice easy winner. We liked the Bucks. We flirted around with that game. Ultimately didn't come there, which I'm kind of glad we left that off the table because the Bucks did end up winning by 12, covering the 6.5, 7. But that was due to 10 points left on the board by the Vikings kicker, which, that wasn't in your handicap. So the Vikings definitely underperformed expectations. I would say the Vikings was definitely the right side in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have definitely gotten lucky on that one. We also really liked the Eagles. And so we didn't put the Eagles in. I know we had it littered throughout the aggressive sportfolio, but we didn't put the Eagles in core. And it was mostly because we already had a lot of exposure to Eagles in our contests. So we had Eagles in every single one of our contests. And that was just to play on, the Eagles are at home, new starting quarterback. The offensive line of the Eagles was really one of their biggest weaknesses. And then that weakness was then exacerbated by having a quarterback that's completely immobile. One of the most immobile quarterbacks there is in the league in Carson Wentz. So you just bring in a mobile quarterback. Doesn't matter even if he's good or not good or whatever. Like you just bring in a mobile quarterback and you're going to mitigate that weakness from one of the Eagles' biggest weaknesses. And then on top of that, Eagles defense has been playing much better over the last few weeks. Definitely in the top half of the league, no doubt. Still a well-coached team, and the Saints, are still led by Taysom Hill, who, he's probably not as bad as like he gets the reputation for. He's capable of leading an offense to score points, But he's not the type of quarterback that you lay 7 on the road versus, especially versus a capable defense. So this wasn't necessarily a buy on Jalen Hurts per se. It was, well, their biggest weakness is going to be mitigated, and their defense is pretty good, and Taysom Hill isn't explosive by any means, and you're getting a touchdown at home. And that was enough.
Yep.
And so that was kind of like our main thinking around there. But elsewhere, we weren't very sharp this week. Like I mentioned, Zach got really hot on the Bears on Sunday morning. But elsewhere, I kind of started to get hot a little bit on the Cowboys on Sunday morning as well. So like on our personal accounts, we did capitalize a little bit there, but it was kind of like last minute, still low conviction. There was a lot of games we leaned that ultimately didn't end up covering. We got cute with the Jags in some of our contests. We flirted with the Seahawks, but it's like a little bit too many points. And so, core goes 2-3. We went 3-2 in the Super Contest. We're like the top 250 right now. So somewhat in contention here in the last 3 weeks to get into the top 100. But I'm happy to get out of this week at 2-3, 3-2. There was a few games we were dead right on, but I would say for the most part, it was a weak week. So the fact that we didn't get, that the allocation wasn't absolutely miserable and really compromised the entire season, I think this was a week we could have gone 0-5. Like there was the potential there if we wanted to get a little bit too cute. So glad that we didn't. And I think this was definitely a week like 5-0 was not on the table. We didn't really flirt with an allocation that would have went 5-0. So anything else that you want to touch on from week 14 before we move on?
Yeah, just regards to that Bears game, it kind of sucks that it's why I actually prefer betting into Sunday morning. Like I think my best bets end up coming on the season Sunday morning. And it's because of the clarity of signals. So through the week, right, you're listening to podcasts, you're reading articles, whatever you're doing, you're looking for reasons to bet. You're looking to get action, right? Like that's a degenerate way of thinking. If you really think about it objectively, right? It's not a criticism of any person, but like, what can I bet on? 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 Well, the problem with that kind of thinking is you start making leaps of faith. Well, what is faith? Faith is absent of objective reasoning, right? So I'm like looking to put my money somewhere. Where can I put my money? Where can I put my money? Well, the problem with that is you don't have all the information. It's Wednesday. It's Friday. It's Saturday morning. You don't even know who's playing yet. So there's a level of like, I understand the need sometimes to consider just getting the line value early in the week, which like I got Ravens even money at the beginning of the week because it just seemed like a complete no-brainer. Later on in the week, it was -3. But on Sunday morning, I was on Texans all the way up until about Saturday late afternoon. Then I started to see some signals and I reevaluated the whole position until Sunday morning. I'm posting on Twitter, max bet Bears. I'm on Bears, broadcasting it publicly. And obviously and I had a great comp game to the Ravens-Texans game as far as a game script from 2019, which was 41-7. This turned out to be 36-7, so pretty dead on. And, the kind of having that objective clarity as to what's really a signal. Like, what's the market consensus? The consensus was Bears are trash. Bears played well against the Lions. Matthew Stafford was just better than the Bears. Their offense played well versus a bad defense. They're playing a bad defense again. Deshaun Watson is overhyped. He's not as good as Matthew Stafford. And he's without his top weapons. None of that seemed to matter. It just, Houston's going to win because the Bears suck. That's a stupid take. So the market was buying a stupid take, and having the time to understand that provided the conviction to take Bears alt line -3.5 plus 200, right? But that doesn't happen on a Thursday. That happens on letting the kind of like juices ruminate and really seeing the signals through the noise. And that's why sometimes waiting to that Sunday morning and just kind of letting the bets kind of come to you can be a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So just food for thought for future reference.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really a contrarian approach as well, because there's so many people out there who believe, in trying to get the very best of a line, even if it means betting it on Monday. And the thing is, I mean, and I'm sure there's plenty of bettors out there who can empathize with this, and we've done it as well. I mean, we've gotten ridiculous closing line value on certain games, and it loses by a wide margin. The closing line value did nothing for you, didn't save you. And if your pure goal is to just capture CLV, I don't think you're going to be, a very long-term successful sports bettor unless you're doing this in massive volume, And I mean, again, everyone operates a little bit differently. But, if our strategy was just to capture CLV, we could definitely do that. The thing is we don't have the level of conviction on a Monday that we do, by even Friday, Saturday, and then certainly on Sunday. So, that's just our approach. And hey, I mean, we're outperforming market. We're outperforming our competitors. And we did it last year too. So this is not a short-term phenomenon as well. And we expect to do it again next year. So follow along to see the story to be continued. So let's move on to week 15. And, we can talk a little bit more about what some of our views are on the teams and our upgrades and downgrades and, where we think there might be value kind of as we go through the slate.
Yeah, let's kick it off Thursday. Have you looked at the lines yet?
Yes, somewhat.
Yeah, I think I've glanced at most of them. So we have Chargers at Raiders. The line's +3 over under 53. What are you thinking about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably leaning Raiders here. I mean, again, it's a Thursday night game. We don't really love a lot of Thursday night games to begin with. A lot of variables involved, especially in a year like 2020 with COVID. But, I mean, Raiders have definitely been going downhill the last few weeks, pretty much ever since they put in that great performance versus the Chiefs. They've had this Chiefs hangover and have looked definitely beatable. I mean, they've had some defensive injuries and they've gone through their own kind of COVID issues as well. But of course, the Chargers have been going through another huge sequence of challenges and adversity. They get the win this week, defeat the Falcons despite their best efforts to continue to blow games. And on the road versus a Raiders team that has a much higher ceiling, I think. Definitely, better coached. I think the last time these two teams played came down to the very last play. So I would definitely lean Raiders here, but I'm probably not going to bet it.
Yeah, I think your safest bet is probably some version of a tease with the Raiders in the over. But yeah, if I had to choose a side, Raiders are in desperation mode.
Yeah, because they're not out of it yet either.
They're not out of it, and Anthony Lynn's just so bad. You just can't trust him.
Yeah, big coaching edge.
Yeah. So and if Raiders lose this game, obviously their season's done. So there's a lot riding on the line. Yeah, I don't think much to talk about that one. I don't think we're probably going to take a position there.
No.
So following up where we have a line, a couple lines are down right now. Bills at Broncos. This is an interesting one. Bills are Saturday. That's right. -6.5 the Bills in a 50 over under. That's a big line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, two hot teams here covering the last few games. Bills definitely surging upwards. Likely going to win the division. Possibly compete for one of the better teams in the AFC. Broncos also not only covering but winning this week versus the Panthers, coming off a competitive performance versus the Chiefs the week prior. I think Drew Lock's been playing admirable. The defense has been playing strong, even with no AJ Boye. Waiting for a Broncos kind of implosion, though.
Yeah.
The team isn't still that good. And we like betting the Broncos in select situations. And betting the Broncos at home, getting a touchdown, isn't necessarily where I want to bet against them. So I'm definitely probably not going to bet the Bills here. But I suspect there is a little bit of outperformance here by the Broncos that might be worth fading a little bit.
Yeah, I have a couple takes on this. Is you got to believe the market's going to be hammering the Bills because the Bills are sexy right now, and I think they've covered like 5 in a row. The Broncos, I was on the Broncos last week versus the Panthers because the Panthers injury to DJ Moore and just, Broncos I thought actually played better than people think versus the Chiefs. But, in this spot, I can make a case why you shouldn't play the Broncos here, but I'm not sure you can play the Bills here no matter what the line is. It's a little bit of a dead spot because, they went to the West Coast, beat the Niners, go all the way back home, beat the Steelers. Now it's a short week. Now they go back to Denver. There's a little bit, and if you watch the first quarter and a half of that Bills-Steelers game, the Steelers' offense really is in disarray a little bit, which I don't understand why exactly. But, the Bills were really close to Josh Allen giving that game away in that first quarter. He had like 3 strip sacks, he had like turnovers left and right, getting sacked. Like, it looked like one of those bad Josh Allen games until Big Ben threw that pick 6. So, Broncos defense played Teddy Bridgewater tough. Like, they made his life a little difficult. Like, the defense is capable of making teams make mistakes and capitalizing. They have some playmakers. So it just seems like a terrible spot for the Bills. So just from a, can you play Bills in this spot? If you want to just ride the hot team train momentum, go for it. But situationally, there's no way I'm laying over 6 points with the Bills here.
Yeah.
So
maybe Denver we definitely will not be betting the Bills. That's for sure.
No. And you're kind of late to the party. They've covered 5 in a row. They had their big win versus Pittsburgh. They're the number 2 seed right now. They could be the number 2 seed soon. So it's not the timing of the spot is very off.
Yeah.
So next up, there's another Saturday game, but there's no lineup. Is Panthers at Packers. I think I did see like a +8 around somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at +8, I definitely strongly lean Panthers, especially if they are healthier. If Moore is playing, maybe McCaffrey even.
And I know they're different teams, but I would like to see, and I'm sure it's pretty well, I would like to see how Teddy played versus the Packers when he was with the Vikings. So it's not really tangible, it really doesn't matter, but if DJ Moore is back, I definitely think that helps the Panthers have a chance to cover here. And he's gone on, Teddy's gone on the road and covered before. Panthers have been competitive in almost every game this season. If you're getting over 7 or 8, it seems like a pretty decent price to get.
And this is an interesting game too, because this is a matchup of 2 teams. One that we've been red hot on and have had their pulse all season, and another team who we have not had a pulse on at all. And then that's the Packers. And, I think we're almost undefeated, I think, picking against the Panthers. And just have not gotten on a good rhythm betting the Packers. So maybe that cancels out. Maybe this is a game worth avoiding, but I decisively lean Panthers right now. Again, doesn't mean that it's going to be one of our picks, but I would say I'm not going to be betting Packers here.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can, unless there's some continuation. Matt Rule did call out Teddy Bridgewater for sucking, basically. He's like, we don't want players that make those type of plays. He made a subtle, if you keep sucking, you're not going to be our quarterback much longer. Mm-hmm. So that could be, I think it's probably more likely a motivational tool, but
yeah,
just something to consider. Texans at Colts. The Texans +7. Over 51. Yeah. Well, do we overreact to the Bears shellacking and the Colts shellacking?
I'm not betting the Texans here.
No, I'm not either.
that was obviously a very pathetic performance. It's something that they've been prone to do here and there. The offensive line is obviously poor. Deshaun Watson still holds the ball way too long. Everyone blames the team and the infrastructure. The team is not good. He doesn't have a lot of weapons, obviously. Yep. But Deshaun Watson is also a little bit overrated on a standalone basis as well, undoubtedly.
Well, they're too bad. I mean, they have two good players, and I'm not sure either of those players are Pro Bowl players this year. Deshaun Watson on offense and J.J. Watt on defense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, and they got injuries on both sides of the ball. They're not well coached. That was just like almost like a give up sort of performance on the road versus the Bears, and now they're on the road again versus a Colts team that's playing hot. The thing is it's still a division game. And so I don't find the Colts at -7 attractive either. Especially if Deshaun Watson at least has Brandon Cooks back. Because, he didn't even have Brandon Cooks last week. So just the weapons were just depleted. But it's still not compelling for me to take the Texans. Essentially, the Texans have not, ever since they lost Will Fuller, they had one good half versus the Colts, then didn't score any versus the Colts in the second half, and then, scored 7 versus the Bears. So the offense has been doing nothing.
That's a very good point, actually. It actually reminds me of that game. Texans had a chance to win it on the final drive and probably should have, but Colts really more or less dominated that game. So, yeah, Colts at minimum are going to win this game. I'm not really concerned about that at all. The question is, can they cover the 7?
Yeah. And it's one of those things just like, if you're going to pick a team that has played poorly, etc., you need to have some sort of buy signal. So getting Brandon Cooks back, is that a buy signal? That's not sufficient. That's not sufficient. The effort was so poor. And again, it bled over from the game with the Colts from the second half, like I mentioned. So there's nothing to buy on the Texans right now. They got a lame duck coach who's unlikely going to be on the staff probably next year. It's a shit show. It's not something worth putting your money on, trying to call a bottom here. I think this could definitely get worse. But again, it doesn't mean I'm going to bet the Colts because it's not a good number, and the Colts have had their own issues of kind of being somewhat sloppy. I would suspect that, they get less sloppy as the season goes on. It would make sense. But, Philip Rivers can always have a bad game too, even versus a questionable defense. I don't suspect that will happen. Again, I'll lean Colts, but definitely not betting Texans for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So next up, this line's also off the board, but Lions at Titans. I think I also saw this around 7 or 8, 6 to 8 maybe.
Yeah, I would lean if it's over a touchdown. I would definitely lean Lions. Now Lions are a bad team that has definitely been flashing by since before the Bears game. Because before the Bears game, you have Bevel as now the interim head coach. Bevel was one of that we talked about on the last podcast, was one of the prime catalysts for why we were so high on the Lions this season in the preseason, was because he opened up Matt Stafford's game. And, obviously the Matt Patricia effect, crowded that out materially. But now that's not there. And the Lions offense has looked much smoother. And that's with it being considerably banged up. But he's getting a lot out of Matt Stafford. I know Matt Stafford got banged up, so I suspect he still is going to play. And the Titans are playing hot as well. But again, the Titans are also a sloppy team. If it's over a touchdown, I definitely lean Lions.
Yeah, I guess the hard part with these type games, when a team like the Titans is going to run the ball, is the Lions can't stop the run. So it's a little concerning that just kind of like the Packers game is at least that was a division game, is are you stuck in a shootout where you need the Lions to keep pace, which could be the case. So Just a little hesitation there. Next up, Jets at Rams. Line's +17, which sounds like a lot, but I'm not sure it is a lot. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, not much to say here. I mean, we'll look at, is Denzel Mims going to play? I don't think it matters that much, but it's just way too hard to predict whether the Jets are going to put in an admirable performance or not. I mean, they're obviously in give-up mode. There's another lame duck head coach. A team that's sinking versus a team that's, dramatically rising in the Rams. Have definitely outperformed our expectations this season. They're probably still somewhat underrated, I would say. Obviously, Goff being their biggest weakness. Can Jets force Goff into making mistakes? Are the Rams going to play some sort of, let's get in, get out, and, just try to get out with no injuries? I don't suspect it's going to be a Seahawks-Jets type game, because I think the Seahawks were out there to try to make a statement versus the Jets, bizarrely. I mean, I understand they lost at home versus the Giants, but this was almost like a college football performance of let's go out there and just keep throwing the ball and just keep scoring. They're going to get style points in the rankings or something. Yeah. So I was surprised that they went all out as much as they did. I don't think that McVay and the Rams will approach the game in the same way.
Yeah, if the receivers come back for the Jets, and Mims, I think, had a personal thing, so maybe he comes back, so he should be. I think he couldn't come back because he couldn't pass COVID protocol time. So if they're back, I mean, to cover 17, this is the thing about big numbers, and that's why it's so hard to bet against them. The 13.5 was a no-brainer, in my opinion, for Seattle. And that's probably why the line moved to, 16 by game time. Is Brett's great point of, are Rams just going to get a lead and then sit on it? That's one option where you get the cover. Another option you get the cover is if Jets get an early lead, fluke off touchdown, special teams touchdown, early turnover, whatever it is, Darnold has one good drive. If they're up 7-0, very likely they're going to cover 17. So, this type of big number is really game script dependent, because the Rams are not really a type of team that's going to try to run up the score. So, Rams probably get to 24 to 31 points. So you really just need Jets to get 10, more or less, 10 to 17.
Yeah, it's going to be close. I'm not in love with the 17. I think the line will probably, if it keeps moving up, maybe if it gets to 20, which probably not. But I mean, I could definitely see 31-10 just by the consequence of Jets turnovers and.
Yeah, but that's why I think it's dependent on if Darnold has all his weapons healthy. I think if he does, Jets will find a way to have a little bit of offense. But again, I think Darnold gets a bad rap because he's with a bad coach and team. But he's only had one game where his team's healthy, his offense is healthy. It's not easy. You saw what happened to Carson Wentz. I think he gets a lot of flack for it too. But his entire season, have had players in and out of the lineup consistently. Yeah. It's very hard to know where your receiver is going to be because it's a different guy this time.
Yeah. The thing is again, you're still trying to buy bottom on the Jets, trying to call somewhat of a top on the Rams in the sense. I mean, again, this is such a weird. It's almost like a preseason game. I feel like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know if there's enough wiggle room at 17 because you're saying oh well, maybe they'll only lose by 10. Well, can they lose by 30? I think they can lose by 30.
Sure.
You also have to be right about the Rams game script. And again, the Jets aren't going to completely implode again. I feel like there's other value in the game, and we can move on.
For sure. I guess my final point though is if Darnold's receiver core is all playing and healthy, I think Jets is a possible viable option to consider. I'll leave it with that. So Bucks at Falcons. We got Bucks -6 at the Falcons. Falcons coming back across the country after losing to the Chargers, which I love the meme I saw on Twitter. There's the Spider-Man facing the Spider-Man, and they're pointing at each other.
Yeah.
One was the Falcons and one was the Chargers because they're the same fucking team.
Yeah.
I just thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and which made sense why it came down to a final field goal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I definitely lean Bucks here. I mean, that goes into our broader macro thesis that the Bucks were just going to get better and better kind of as the season went on. So they had their bye week. They put in a good performance last week. I mean, again, they probably shouldn't have covered versus the Vikings, but they still were the better team. Still were going to win that game. They did what they had to do when they had to do it. They overcame somewhat of a slow start, overcame adversity. I think, still a division game, but the Falcons their offense continues to be overrated. They struggle to score points. I mean, even with Julio Jones, like, again, the team is like the, 20th ranked offense. Like they're not like an elite offense, even despite the talent that they have. Only could score, 17 points versus the Chargers. Bucks defense, obviously much better than that. Definitely like a strong lean to Bucks here. I think the only possible weakness here is, again, if the Bucks just kind of, dick around and, only end up winning by 4, or you get some sort of like backdoor cover by the Falcons.
Julio was out versus the Chargers, but this Atlanta team struggled mightily against a team that could get a lot of pressure in the Saints twice. Like they couldn't even improve the second time. Like that's how bad it was. So my only caveat is if Julio is playing, I'm concerned because Julio and Dirk Cutter, the former coach of this Bucks team, may kind of know the players or know the matchups to exploit with a Julio type player potentially. So that would probably be my only real hesitancy here. But if Julio's not playing, this Falcons offense with Matt Ryan is just, he's a statue, and the vertical offense, it just can't go anywhere. So, and one thing to note, Bucks kicker and long snapper, I think punter even, was it punter? They all have COVID. So I think they'll be having a backup kicker in this game. But that could be a benefit because I'm wondering if then the Bucks decide to go for it more.
Yeah. Which
is potentially, plus EV, especially at the 6. It's not 7, so 6 is safe. 6 is a little bit that's a good number if your team's not going to be kicking field goals.
Yeah. And the Bucks haven't had a blowout since Green Bay. I don't know if this is the right week for it, but there's definitely the variables activated for that scenario to play out.
And one more thing, Brady was still rusty. He finally hit a deep shot with Scotty Miller, but he legit missed wide open receivers in the middle of the field for seemingly no reason.
Yeah.
I think he got kind of scared with the pressure, but that I don't think that's going to happen again. So he'll connect on those 15-yard open passes. So yeah, it's definitely Bucks are off for me.
Yeah.
Patriots at Dolphins. Patriots +2.
Yep, I like the Dolphins.
You gotta like the Dolphins. Dolphins are the hottest team in the NFL as far as ATS.
Their defense is legit, and
pressure, picks, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and one of the things I was talking to you offline, prior to this week in the Dolphins versus the Chiefs, I was saying is hey, I've been low on Tua. I thought I downgraded the Dolphins big time once he came the starter, especially just because of the broader theme that it sent. But I think that the market got maybe a little bit too down on him, even for my sake, and maybe still is a little bit.
Why is this line so low? Patriots just got. I guess the extra prep because Patriots played on a Thursday.
Yeah, it's really going to come. Dolphins' run game is obviously poor, but I think the Dolphins' defense in itself should keep this game very competitive. And I mean, the Dolphins are well coached. The Dolphins, there is no question around lack of effort or focus. They're right in the playoff hunt. This would be a huge game to win. There's obviously kind of long-term animosity of the Patriots kind of just always getting what they want in that division. And this is one where you can like kind of definitively put your boot on their neck and, you know, just snuff them out for the season.
Well, but I will say matchup-wise, you know, the Patriots obviously want to run the ball and the Dolphins struggle stopping the run as far as if there's a weakness on their team. And the Dolphins' weapons are still banged up. So, I mean, it
will depend on Devontae. So, like, if Devontae Parker is out, that would be notable for sure.
Yeah, but then
the other thing we need to caveat too is, especially me, but a blend of both of us. You have not been hot on the Patriots, and I've been downright cold on the Patriots. So, like, I did not get a good rhythm on the Patriots whatsoever. We picked them versus the Chargers of all weeks and cashed, luckily, in a nice 45-0 fashion. But other than that, we've kind of had a pretty wonky rhythm on them. And so I think that's what comes into play here.
Yeah, and, you know, to your point, I think has played better than I've expected.
He's played as I have expected. He's not great. I think he's got a very low ceiling, but I've never said I was never as bearish on him as I was on Dwayne Haskins, where like this guy is like not going to be in the league or he shouldn't even be starting or anything. Like I think Tua is going to be a player in the NFL. The thing is he's a little bit injury prone. He's, you know, a little bit too small. I think he's going to be fragile. He's probably not going to have a very long career. But you know, he's smart. He has the right mechanics.
Almost like a Teddy. He's like a Teddy Bridgewater. He's like your 14th to 16th ranked QB in the NFL. Probably a starter. Mm-hmm. Probably gets injured. Probably goes to another team. Starts there for a year or two. You know, like capable, but not a top 10 QB.
I mean, again, like I think unlike Dwayne Haskins, I think he's gonna get better. And he'll show flashes. I think I've said this numerous times now. He's got like a Marcus Mariota type ceiling. Marcus Mariota had good games. There was multiple times where Marcus Mariota was like, oh, wow, this is like the quarterback of the future. Like, it wasn't like he just sucked and like that was just his narrative for his entire career. Like, it took a while for that to finally.
Literally 3 games before he got benched and then left the Titans to never play for that team again. He had a game at the Falcons where even the players on the Titans were like, see, Mariota's the man. He's the best. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Like 3 games later, he never played again.
Yeah, and Tua's going to have those games too. I think he's capable of having good games. Like Dwayne Haskins didn't think that, like, he might have a good play or here or there, but like, and I love that was like has really come to fruition. Like, I don't think he will
he's
starting.
I mean, even real quick, even Ron Rivera after like 3 games was like, "You're 4th string now."
I know. Like, actually, I want to demote you so far down the bench that no one even flirts with the idea you're ever coming back.
Yeah, until like 4 quarterbacks get hurt, and then he's like, "Shit, you need to get in there."
All right, next.
Next up, we got Seahawks at Skins. Seahawks -5. Is Alex Smith? How hurt is he? I didn't see the play yet. I got to rewatch.
I didn't see that either. He went out?
Yeah, Haskins came in.
Oh, snap.
It makes that 49ers loss even worse because the Skins did not score an offensive touchdown.
Yeah.
And yet they won by 8.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, Niners two defensive touchdowns by Washington really hurt our Niners bet.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is we know, like, I'm not even butthurt over the Niners loss, though. Like, we know Washington's got a good defense. We know they're capable.
Yeah.
We know Mullins is turnover prone. So, I mean, that was like part of the handicap. I'm not even.
I think I took Washington. I think I bought it up to +4 at one point. That's how taking the -3 was just never a good play because of the matchup.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
Mullins
yeah,
versus a
it's
tough.
Yeah, because it's hard to imagine, that the Niners were going to win by margin on a team with their defense that's definitely surging. If Haskins is playing, I mean, this is Seahawks all day.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, but I think, like, could Kyle Allen come back? Or is he's done. He, like, broke
I think,
something.
he's way done.
He's way done. Okay, yeah. Yeah, if it's Haskins, then yeah, I mean. And again, but even with our boy Alex, I mean, he is a game manager. Like,
no, if it's Alex Smith, then I like Washington.
Okay, that's fair.
And that's a massive
downgrade. Yeah. And I mean, obviously 2 weeks ago, Seattle really got stifled on offense by Giants defense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Though Josh Gordon apparently he's not coming back this week. I think next week.
I could care less about Josh.
No, I know, but it could be relevant in the playoffs for a big player too.
Maybe.
Bears at Vikings. Bears +3.
Definitely Vikings. I mean, I think this
is I don't know. Talk to me.
I mean, I think the Vikings probably aren't getting due credit for the performance that they put in versus the Bucs on the road as a touchdown underdog. So they're a touchdown underdog. They don't cover. Market penalizes them. I think this line should definitely be Minnesota -4. So I think, that's like pretty key 1 point there. I think the Bears have definitely peaked. Like that was, and this is the thing this is what Bears.
Yeah, that was the best game of the season, which I said it was going to be.
I think
on Sunday.
I think this is what real Bears fans like myself get mad about, is because you get these random performances where the Bears capitalize on kind of like a weak team that's down and out, and they just put in a random good performance, and it's like, and it's good enough that it like extends the careers of their
of shitty players.
Yeah, of shitty players, shitty coaches, like, and this just keeps happening. And this is what Trubisky does do. Like, Trubisky does not ever like suck for like 5-6 games in a row. He's always got to have at least like one pretty decent game, and then maybe one even really great game. Remember that game last year versus Washington? Like,
we lost money.
God, like, look at that arm. Oh man, he's developed like so much. Like, he is that quarterback. He can put in a good game and then look like shit the next game, because he's still not good.
No. His bad outweighs his good for sure. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense what you're saying, and to be fair, Vikings, they outplayed the Bucs. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, really, the game turned on a couple plays, like the fluky 50-yard touchdown with Scotty Miller, which was actually really good coverage, just a better throw. And, the halftime heave that got the pass interference call, which is never called. And then the missed field goal. So, like kind of every bounce went against the Vikings. Whereas if every bounce went for the Vikings, I mean, Vikings probably win like convincingly, like the Rams beat the Bucs. Like, it's actually kind of, the game comp was actually very similar in style and just kind of like who was dominating who. The first half, at least, was really the Vikings-Rams game comp. It was basically that game. Mm-hmm. And then the second half, because the Bucs had the lead and like defense could pin their ears back, like then it kind of shifted back to the Bucs' favor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, I think you're right. I don't think you can be on the Bears in this spot at only +3, but I'm not sure I'm convinced the Vikings either, because.
Well, I mean, the kicking situation is also like.
Yeah, kicking.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to probably be impactful. I mean, these kickers, they're head cases, and when you have that bad of a performance, I don't think you're just going to bounce back the next game. Like,
well, I'm surprised
every field goal again.
is he even like? How have they not cut him? I mean, it was that bad. It was, kickers miss kicks. It happens. Like Lutz missed 2 field goals for the Saints, but like Minnesota's kicks missed were like you're killing the team. Like the team that is like, you're breaking them.
Yeah, and the thing is like, I mean, I would definitely like Minnesota 2.5. Hopefully it does bleed there with, like people think the Bears are surging, Vikings are sinking. That would be really nice, especially with the weakness at kicker for the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it's still a division game, still Kirk Cousins. And if the Bears can get pressure, that can obviously be an issue.
The only thing I'll say too is, Vikings actually found success running the ball against the Bucs' vaunted run defense. They had like 100 yards rushing in the first half versus a defense that gives up 70 yards rushing total in a game. So if they can run on the Bucs, you imagine Dalvin Cook should have some success against the Bears to help set up the play action with Kirk Cousins down the field. So, I mean, it's not like a game the Vikings are going to put up 10 points. Like, the Vikings should get their 20, 24 points.
Yeah.
So, 24-20 sounds like probably the final score. But the Bears are actually the most consistent team on the season, ATS, as far as margin of victory or loss. Like, all of their games are within, like, 8 points of ATS.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you don't, like, just if that trend continues, except, obviously, last week's game. If that trend continues, you have, 5 points max of margin for error,
right,
so to speak. So
right.
Could be close. It's probably a tease, actually, probably the best on both sides, maybe. Jaguars at Ravens. Jags plus 14. No way you can go against Ravens here. Just not. Nope. I think it's worth taking Ravens because after watching that game, Jags cannot stop the run as is. Ravens are just going to run the ball nonstop and like play action, long pass down the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, probably right. Maybe get a good old-fashioned Ravens blowout, which they haven't really had much of.
I think you gotta. I think that's the bet, man. I just think the only thing is, I do agree. If Minshew is quarterback, it gives the Jags a chance to hang around versus Glennon.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Ravens, you got to check their secondary. If they get any of their defense back, like Jimmy Smith, et cetera, like, and they're a little healthier than they were versus the Browns. Yeah, I mean, remember, Ravens were up 14 points. 15, was it 14 or 15?
Yeah.
Versus the Browns late in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So, like, they had the lead. They had momentum. Those are the type of games they typically.
I mean, they're a one pass. I mean, Baker Mayfield 4th and 10 or whatever, gets it for a touchdown, cuts it to 8 or 7 or whatever. I mean, if that doesn't go their way, then it's Ravens ball up 14, probably driving back down the field.
And a good statistic to point out is I think they ran Dobbins, their best running back, at a 64% of the run plays, or he played 64% of the plays.
Mm-hmm.
So his usage is being upped, which is surely going to be a net benefit for that dynamic kind of RPO.
Yeah.
You
could definitely get a good. Remember when Minshew came back last year after
he sucked.
Yeah. So
yeah. Interesting.
I think I lean Ravens here for sure. It'd be nice if we get it under the 14. I just know a couple times last year, once the Jags started to suck, we tried to buy the bottom on them a couple times, I think twice, and just got our faces ripped off. Not doing that again.
No, I'm not. No, we're at the point in the season, like the Jets, like the Jags. Like, unless it's ridiculous, like 17 is approaching ridiculous. 14 is not that ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you move this to 13.5, which is trending that way.
Nice. No, yeah, because the Ravens can't be dicking around here either. I mean, they got to win these games, if they want to make a play.
Yeah. I mean, and actually, interesting. the total is only 47.5. Like, I almost think like tease the over with the Ravens. Like, Ravens probably get close to 40.
Yeah. Yep, that could definitely be the case.
So 40-0, you miss. But hey. All right, next up, Browns at Giants. It's off the board, obviously, probably because of Daniel Jones's potential play or not play, I guess. They're probably better off if they bench him because I had confidence in the Cardinals from the start of the week, but I like really gained more and more confidence as the week went on once we knew Daniel Jones was like hobbled. And you made a great point. You said, "Oh, Daniel Jones, you mean the guy who like fumbles and throws picks all the time, like, and he loses like the one asset he really has, which is being able to run and escape the pocket and make big plays with his legs."
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, like no way you can back the Giants last week versus the Cardinals. So
because the Giants really started to turn the corner too when they added that element
when he could run
to the game.
Yeah.
When he started to actually start running the ball. Really added a new element to otherwise stagnant offense. I'm definitely upgrading the Browns after the Ravens performance. I think, besides, that string of games where it was really, really bad weather that really compromised just the integrity of the game broadly for both teams. Texans, when they were healthy, looked miserable. Raiders offense, which is, their defense has got issues, but their offense is pretty potent. Even they looked like trash. Some questionable performances there. But outside of those games, the Browns, still sloppy, still make mistakes. Kind of there's, some reminiscences of the old Browns. But it's like more controlled, like it's recoverable. Whereas like before it kind of like was this downward spiral, like I think like that Browns Patriots game last year when we were on the Browns, like plus 13.5, they probably should have won the game straight up, but just so compromised by bad decisions, mistakes, compounding. And maybe that's the word is the Browns mistakes don't compound this year the way they
That's a very good point
in the past. So like they make mistakes and they probably lose or maybe they don't cover, but it's like they're within range at least, of winning and covering games. So I think this is a good spot to where if Daniel Jones is still gimpy, where you can capitalize on the Browns here still.
Yeah, I guess it just depends what the line is. The only thing
I
is
think it was like
Giants,
3.5, 4.
Okay. I mean, Giants defense is pretty stout. So it's just a matter of, are the Browns going to have success on offense more so than anything?
Myles Garrett and that Browns defensive line versus gimpy Daniel Jones is a nice situation.
Well, Myles Garrett got a little hobbled in the Ravens game. I don't know. We'll have to monitor that. But I think Denzel Ward might be coming back.
Oh, that's even
maybe this game, if not the next game, which obviously would help them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's like kind of like a wait and see game for me. Eagles at Cardinals. Man, Eagles +6.
Yep, definitely like the Eagles here for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's just stupid.
Play on the defense versus still questionable Cardinals offense that's probably still overrated. Cardinals offense overrated, Eagles defense underrated.
And Jalen Hurts, I think, is underrated. It's in Arizona.
In Arizona, okay. No, I still like him. I mean, and again, Jalen Hurts. I don't think Jalen Hurts. He didn't have a great game, but he didn't have a bad game.
He did. No. But hold on. We got to contextualize this thing for the audience. I rewatched that game this morning. He had a good game. It wasn't great, but it was good in what the Eagles needed him to do to be successful to win the game. And they were 6.5 point under a 7.
All right, then I'm even more bullish because I was going to say like he didn't have a bad game. Yeah. Which is what the market was expecting him to have versus ostensibly the best or second best defense in the league right now.
Yeah.
Now he's going to be playing a far inferior defense. Going to have a lot more time. Should be able to find receivers. And as long as he doesn't make mistakes, which he is a rather cerebral quarterback. So if he doesn't make mistakes, I think the Eagles can definitely cover that number, and they could be in contention to win the game.
Well, and the last game and a half of Jalen Hurts, what I've seen is pressure's coming up the middle. He moves out of the pocket, looks for a man downfield, either gets rid of it or he runs. He had over 100 yards rushing versus the Cardinals, and that was most of it was not designed runs. That was all like, oh, getting rushed, don't have a good offensive line, let me get out of here. Okay, let me get 8 yards. And he didn't get sacked. If Wentz played that Saints game, Saints win that game because he's going to get sacked 5 times.
Well,
he's going to fumble. He's going to throw a pick. Hurts didn't do that. He took what the defense gave him. Like, he made a really nice play early and a great rollout to the right, getting chased, threw it across his body, across the field, 40 yards down the field, and like hits Rager in the hand and he drops it. Like, would have been a touchdown if he had. Like, it was like maybe the pass was slightly off, but it was like good enough for a professional receiver to catch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but yeah, so it's kind of stuff that you won't pick up if you don't really watch the game diligently.
Right. Which we believe strongly in, which a lot of people don't do. They'd rather just look at a box score.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your favorite phrase here that you're definitely touting out more and more?
Oh yeah, my new slogan that I'm going to use for here and the next year is context is king, numbers are neutral. In that, numbers don't mean anything without context. It's really that simple. You got numbers, great. Numbers for days and days and days. But if you cannot put context to them, like, oh, Jalen Hurts got no sack, like he didn't get sacked. What does that mean? He didn't get pressured, right? The offensive line is good. That's not what it means. The offensive line is still terrible. Jalen Hurts maneuvered away from the pressure. It was all Jalen Hurts. It had nothing to do with the offensive line.
Well, yeah, because what I would say is you look at the box score, and that's how I describe it. Because I did not watch or rewatch the game yet, and I would say that's how I would describe Jalen Hurts. Didn't have a bad game, had an average game. But you're saying he had a good game. Not a great game, but a good game. Like he did what he did
exactly what he needed to do. He did everything that needed to happen. He did based on how the game went. He didn't force things. Defense attacked him. He got out. Like,
the one thing I really like about Jalen Hurts too is I imply like he's a more cerebral quarterback. He's got a great attitude. He's already getting rave reviews from a lot of his Eagles players. Miles Sanders specifically came out and called him a leader. Really liked that he was a starter. And I know there was some rumblings, and so maybe there's like some division on the team about who they think should start. But I think after that kind of performance, and I was saying this earlier, was I think you had pointed out some Eagles players didn't like the fact that Wentz was benched. And I'm sure there's tons of people who just like Wentz as a person and stuff, but this is sports. Like if Jalen Hurts starts accumulating wins, like those players will come around. And the thing is like, I think a great example is like Jalen Hurts when he was benched in the college football championship by Nick Saban and Tua came in. Like, obviously, really unfortunate circumstance for him. And then Tua comes in and obviously wins the game for Bama. And Jalen Hurts was genuinely, unless he's like a great actor, excited for the team, happy that they won, happy for Tua, like celebrating with all his teammates and all that type of stuff. And, left on really good terms with Bama and Nick Saban, got a really big endorsement from Nick Saban when he then moved to Oklahoma. I really like him as just as a thinker. And I think that's, obviously so critical at the quarterback position, and because we know of other quarterbacks who are just complete idiots, and you cannot be an idiot and be the quarterback, and that's why no matter how much talent you have, a la Jameis Winston, you're not going to get a starting quarterback job because you're just such a massive liability. It doesn't matter how many touchdowns you throw. And so that's one of the things, like I have this trust element with Jalen Hurts that, I think he's got, I don't know if he's ever going to be a great quarterback, but he definitely, I think, has the mental capacity to not make, complete idiotic errors over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I want to say real quick too is, it's very difficult for a program like Oklahoma to have these kind of like big name QBs with big arms. And then, let me take Jalen Hurts, who had this reputation of being like, he couldn't throw the ball. Like he's not a good, like Oklahoma would not have taken Jalen Hurts unless, like you said, Nick Saban was like, oh no, trust me, this guy can do you some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think his like passing ability, like probably started out a little rougher when he was early starter in Alabama, but improved every year he was a starter to the point where he started over Tua, even though Tua was, just coming in. But like he did lose his job to Tua, but Tua was a top 5 pick. Like, so there's a level of like contextually, Jalen Hurts like maybe is a top 20 QB in the NFL by that standard. So like, is he better than Carson Wentz like this season? Like, yeah. I mean, and you saw that in the game is, to your point, Brett, his cerebral understanding of what to do when was, to me, very evident. Like, he understood when the pressure was coming and when to get away. He didn't hold and wait and be confused and crumbling. Like, no, like almost always made the right read. And that's to me is the most important thing at QB. So,
Absolutely.
Next up, Kansas City at the New Orleans Saints. -3 Kansas City. I think this is a Kansas City opportunity. What do you think? -3? That's it? Chiefs?
I mean, are the Chiefs going to win every game?
Yes. I mean, actually, this. So obviously, this preseason, this was a dead spot for the Chiefs as far as like if they're going to lose games, this is one of them. My only thing is if Taysom Hill, I really go one of two directions. If Taysom Hill is QB, no way I'm on Saints. If Drew Brees comes back and plays, I think Saints maybe is the play. So like I really legitimately go in two opposite directions depending who's QB.
Gotcha.
That's kind of my position on
Yeah,
this
I mean,
game.
I would say if Breeze plays, then I definitely like the Saints because, Mahomes, threw 3 interceptions versus the Dolphins.
The first two.
I know they're tipped and things like this.
Well, one was tipped. The second one was an overthrow, a slight overthrow. Indiana fumble in the first quarter and took a 25-yard sack.
The ball's getting tipped is not some sort of mitigating circumstance that isn't on Patrick Mahomes. It's again, obviously it's not like Mahomes played a bad game. They still won. He still threw for like 400 yards, like 3 touchdowns, whatever. Obviously elite, best quarterback in the NFL, undoubtedly, best team in the NFL, undoubtedly, by a wide margin. But they're 12-1. Teams do lose. This is a great spot for them to lose on the road versus a team that's head coached well, off a close game that was kind of like a bigger blowout. They relaxed, came down to the end. They've had like a couple kind of close games now, a little bit in a row when it comes down to the end. There could be like a certain level of exhaustion. I think they realize that they don't necessarily have to win. Steelers probably going to beat the Bengals, so yeah, maybe they do have to win if they really want that number 1 seed. But on the road versus again a creative head coach, one of the best defenses in the NFL. Chiefs defense certainly vulnerable. I understand like the Saints the Chiefs are undefeated, like being down by 10 and then coming back and winning. But it's like how many times can that keep happening? I think.
Yeah. Well, Saints at least have the defense to, in theory, mitigate some of that comeback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just think that there's a good spot, for the Chiefs. Obviously.
Yeah, I guess you're right. If you're
I would also like to see what's the public action look like, because like if the public thinks they're being sharp by taking the Saints, then that means I'm actually reading this game wrong, probably.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think. Yeah, if Breeze is playing and you're getting +3 or better, I think that's probably fine to take. Especially if it moves to 3.5, 4. I think that's even more attractive. But
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
saying even if Taysom Hill plays, I don't think the Chiefs are necessarily a slam dunk.
No. Well, I mean, if Taysom Hill plays, though, I just don't like what I've seen from him. Like, it's a lot of, like, to me, Taysom Hill and Jalen Hurts are almost similar in that, like, they're good when they're underrated, but the moment they're getting overrated, they're not that good of cute. Like, they're not, and I mean, Jalen Hurts is kind of yet to be seen, but like, Taysom Hill is just, he's not a guy you would lay 10 points with. Like, why
but I
would you
think
do that?
that's what the market thinks. The market does not like Taysom Hill. I mean, again, I was saying earlier,
They did last week.
I don't think that was because of Taysom Hill. That was an anti-Eagles.
-7. Yeah, no, I get that. And the defense, blah, blah.
Yes.
But -7 on the road? That's insane. That's Aaron Rodgers territory.
I think if it was Drew Brees,
That's like,
that the Eagles probably would have been like plus 11.5.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Not on the road. I don't think it would have been. That's insane. That's a huge line. That's Jags territory.
Next game?
But, next game. 49ers at Cowboys. Niners -3. Throwback to the old days of when these teams were good.
I think I like it probably under 3. I don't love it in any way, shape, or form.
I don't know if we can trust Mullins, though.
I
Mullins
know.
is not. He's so inconsistent.
Yeah, I'm super.
That's why he's not a starter.
Very hard. I mean, you're not getting any benefit of the doubt with the Niners at -3. It's just assuming.
And I will say, Niners, we all know Niners are kind of like, their season's done and they had high expectations. Cowboys, I think they're kind of turned a corner. They're 3-2 since against the spread, since their like 0-10 start or whatever it was, ATS. So they've kind of turned a corner. You're getting +3 at home. We saw the Niners. Niners couldn't score a touchdown last week. I don't know. Like, I'm not.
That was obviously versus a much better defense, and the Bengals were they were able to move the ball in the Cowboys. They just kept kind of turning it over.
True. Van Der Esch had like a fumble return for touchdown or something. Yeah.
If you could tell me Nick Mullins does not turn the ball over, I like the Niners at -3.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, hard game.
Obviously, a big coaching edge.
Yeah.
So for the Niners. So, but I don't love the game in either way and mostly because you're not getting the benefit of the doubt with the number. I think the Niners. I feel like, again, the books know the Niners are better, and that's why they're giving you 3, so you're not getting any wiggle room. I feel like the Niners should be -1, and I would like to bet the Niners at -1.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. The line's probably right now. Okay, next up, I think Monday, there's a game. Oh, yeah, Monday. Steelers at Bengals. Steelers -13.
So what's your thoughts?
I am not betting Bengals. I don't care. I just don't care. Without Burrow, I'm not betting Bengals. Worst coach maybe in the NFL with, 40th ranked QB. The Bengals defense has been a little better than I think people like me have thought, but this screams a get right spot for the Steelers. Like, if not now, when? Like, they win 11 games and they just crap out at the end and they're terrible. Like, I don't know. It seems. I mean, the over/under is only 40.5. I mean, they're basically saying Steelers can't score. Steelers' offense sucks, but like, it is capable. Like, it has playmakers. Still, Big Ben can put up 5 touchdowns passing.
I mean, I'm not going to be betting this game. I don't know what's going on with the Steelers.
Yeah.
Bengals defense hasn't been getting their doors blown off them. So, I mean, the Steelers should cover this, but who cares?
13's a little high. If it was under 10, I think I could take the Steelers.
I mean, you take the Steelers, you're probably going to be sweating it. And they probably.
I did a big teaser into this game. I think I took Steelers -6 in the teaser. So like under 7, like, yeah, I like that. I think that's safe for. But yeah, I don't see the Bengals being super competitive unless Big Ben throws pick sixes again.
Mm-hmm. I would say I like the under here.
Well, and again, what's weird about the Steelers to me is the last two games they were up 7-0. I think they were up 14-0. Their offense is fine, and I know some of it's a little fluky, but like finding some success early in the game, it's just like as the game wears on, like they just can't do anything. And obviously, Redskins and Bills have better defenses than probably half the NFL, but it's kind of a strange issues in Steelers offense land.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
You can't discern what that is and detect it and try to not force some narrative around it. You're truly just there's something going on there. You don't know what it is. I have not seen a buy signal on the Steelers for a couple of weeks now. I don't think I'm going to be buying them at -13 on the road in a division game, even versus the Bengals. That's not the ideal spot.
Yeah, you need this needs to be a get right spot, and then maybe you can look at them the next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up our preview of Week 15. Only 3 weeks left. Thanks everyone for listening. Enjoy your week, and we'll be back next week. Good luck, everyone. And that's the closing bell.